Hello, my name is Annalisa Best, and this is my water polo and swimming ethnography. Water polo is a very old sport and started out as a basic game of passing the ball. In current times, it has become a very competitive and physically demanding sport. Swimming is a fundamental of water polo. You must learn how to swim first before you can play water polo, otherwise you will drown since both are in the water. Both swimming and water polo are very physically and demanding on any level, but especially on a competitive level. During this ethnography, we will be focusing on the experiences and meanings and pleasures that young athletes had while participating in this sport. To gain a better insight into this community, I will be interviewing two athletes who are both water polo players and swimmers to discuss their personal stories and experiences within these communities. The purpose of this research was to look at how water polo and swimming's community and lessons have influenced young growing male athletes. This ethnography was designed to look at how young male athletes have taken the lessons from the pool and ingrained them into other aspects of their life, and also how the community has affected their personal development. The findings from this research was that these young men have found who they were and the skills that they learned in the pool were able to be applied in other aspects. Swimming and water polo gave these athletes a space to understand their abilities, become empowered, and learn in a safe environment. During the very fundamental years of teenagers, playing a team in individual sports may and can have positive effects on athletes. The research was conducted and revealed connections between the lessons that were learned inside the pool and within the community, and as well as how they were applied in other aspects of their lives. The articles that were chosen support the findings of the attributes that were discussed in these interviews. A.B. Evans conducted a study focused on aquatic physical activity and how people perceived the aging body in relationship to physical activity and resistance towards it. The participants also discussed what health meant to them and how power, class, and accessibility were all playing an ideal part of their health. During the prepubescent and pubescent years, these young male athletes' bodies are changing and they are partially dressed for most of their time participating in these sports. So it makes it very hard to overcome those insecurities when everybody is looking at you. But there becomes a sense of family and team because everybody is going through the same thought process as you. J.D. Gross in 1994 investigated the hardiness and mood disturbance in overtrained swimmers and their coping mechanisms. Through the research that was conducted, athletes with a higher hardiness score had lower feelings of stress, tension, depression, anger, and confusion. This was because they had better coping mechanisms to overcome these feelings that were learned within their sport. These lessons that were learned in the pool were able to help them overcome these feelings and deal with them in a healthy manner. Edgar Shields looked at the intimidation and violence in high school male athletes. Water polo being a very contact sport and very aggressive, since the purpose of the game or one of the components of the game is to try and push your opponent underwater so you can get the ball from them or guard them or try and annoy them as much as they can before the ref sees you. During my interviews, both of these athletes communicated their own experiences of how this aggression has affected other parts of their lives. In a positive manner, however, it gave them the ability to be more assertive and learn that they have a voice and be able to be aggressive in a healthy manner. The last research that was conducted looked at the self-efficiency and self-performance in terms of goal setting. Swimming is a very goal-oriented sport. You constantly at the beginning of your season are setting goals that will hopefully be the focus of your training and come true and be obtained at the end of your season. These goal setting exercises and lessons that are learned within the pool and sport can be applied to other aspects, which is something that these interviewees talked about and experienced themselves. The participants consisted of 2 male athletes, Adam, 18, and James, who is 17, who both are swimmers and water polo players. They have played on the same all-boys team for 4 years that they were in high school. Both have been raised in the same aquatic community by swimming first, then later becoming involved in water polo upon their own accord. These athletes were interviewed and observed participating in their sports, both swimming and water polo. The interviewees recalled similar components and themes about the aquatic community and its impact on their development. The findings from the interviews and common themes was, first off, life lessons. Interviewee Adam talked about how swimming and water polo gave him a sense of being comfortable with who he is and being comfortable in every aspect of his life. Because as he says, quote, if you are not comfortable, you're going to essentially drown. He also felt that it gave him the ability to not quit and to persevere through challenges, since there will always be challenges in life that are going to be ahead of him. James felt that he developed hardworking skills, responsibility, and the most important, time management. Balancing school and a sport and then a club sport is a very time-consuming task, especially for a young male. Another theme that the interviewees both discussed was the sense of community. Adam talked about how James and him swam their entire life and how his parents are very close and they have become best friends in that community. And now this year they are going to be graduating. The community has brought them together and made them lifelong friends, as James mentioned. He mentions Adam again, and now their friendship since they have been 3 or 5 years old. James reveals or discusses the aquatic community to an outsider. He says that it's very friendly to make friends and very easy, since at meets or games, everybody is going through the exact same thing you are, and everyone is nervous. So it's always fun to talk to people behind the blocks or before a game. And it's very friendly overall, despite the very competitive nature of it. They learned good sportsmanship through this. So not only were these 2 male athletes involved in their community, they also gave back to it as well. Adam reflected on a time where he took a freshman under his wing and taught him things that he wished he knew when he first started playing water polo. James as well reflected on taking in younger swimmers on the team and giving them tips and advice about their races that he wished that he had before. And he would always look to somebody who was older in the swimming community and ask them how they would approach a race as well. Both of these show that the aquatic community is very open, helpful, and always going to be there for you if you need anything. The conclusion from these interviews that many topics of perseverance, life lessons, and a sense of community have shaped these young men into who they've become and who are they going to become. The limitation, however, for this research was that the interviews were very hard to pull answers from the athletes that I interviewed and made them think. Also, it was a very small group of participants, and it could possibly grow with more time to outreach to other interviewees. These are my references, and thank you. Stay healthy and safe. Thank you again for listening, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.